Welcome to another Rate Your Arsenal series. This is a series where I rate any viewer's arsenal who sends them my way. I categorize every single one of your bowling balls and put them in strength order so that in each category you know, well, ball A is actually a little stronger than ball B. So it can help you find the holes in your game that you need to help fill or the bowling balls that you can just get rid of and try to replace. Now, in the past, I have asked you guys to send these through email. I now ask that you send them through a Google form. So down below in the description, I have a link to a Google form. Please put in your arsenal there. If you have extra notes, please put them on there. But if you need anything else, you're still a-okay to email me. It just takes me a little longer to get to them. But let's get right into this arsenal rating. We're going to have to buckle up for this one. We have Woody, who is a one-handed lefty collegiate bowler who has 22 bowling balls for us to look at. So being a lefty, that's going to change things a little bit. We'll talk about that as we go through them. But let's put some bowling balls into slots so we already know where they fit. For example, Ion Max is a strong and smooth ball. Going down the list, we have a Vibo. We're going to fit that into strong and sharp. We have an Ion Pro in weak smooth. Optimum Idol in medium smooth. We'll go in Optimum Idol Pearl in medium sharp. We have a purple slammer. We'll get that urethane slot filled. Do we have any quick weakened sharps that we've ever talked about? No. So let's kick it off. Now, being a lefty, you're going to notice a lot of smoother equipment compared to the more angular. I really like that. We're going to start off with the Extreme Envy. This is the earliest hooking bowling ball that you can find at this point in time. That thing is massive. That thing is super early, super big. Envy Tour coming up next. We're going to put that in the strong and smooth category, but it's going to go after the Ion Max. This is a good 1, 2, 3 combo right now. Eternity Pie, also a strong and smooth bowling ball, a little bit weaker than an Envy Tour, kind of that weaker asymmetrical solid option. Then this one's interesting. We have the Storm Crux Pearl. Crux Pearl, the Crux series was one of Storm's best asymmetrical options. You guys have probably heard about the Alpha Crux, one of the most sought after bowling balls of all time. It's like $700 to $1,000 right now to buy it. But we have the Crux Pearl. We're going to fit that in strong and sharp. We're actually going to put it above the Vibo because it's going to be so early, but it's also going to be very smooth. Next up, we have the Absolute. Absolute is going to go after the Vibo. That was a hybrid bowling ball at the time, a little bit smoother pearl or hybrid bowling ball, shiny hybrid. Track Theorem, that's going to go at the very end of our strong and sharp category. That is one of the weakest strong and sharp balls you can find. Next up, Physics Blackout. Oh man, this is going to be tough. We're going to put the Physics Blackout at the top of the list, is my thought here. I think the Physics Blackout is going to be one of the earlier strong and sharp balls because they do want it at 2000 grit, which is crazy for a Pearl ASIM like this. Then we have the Archetype. The Archetype Hybrid was really good. It was a really, really good ball. It did hook a little bit later. So I think that's going to fit between the Vibo and the Absolute. It could, these are a little bit squishy though. You could kind of spin these around in different ways. Moving on, we have the Storm Drive. Wow. The old Belmo Storm Drive. I'm going to put that after. Let me check just to be safe. Storm Drive. This one was a hybrid, right? Yeah, it's R2S Nano Hybrid 257050. So, yeah, honestly, that's going to be on the weaker side of medium sharp. We have the Zen U. We have the Urethane Zen, which doesn't actually have the Zen core. So, kind of, it was a little bit quick clickbaity because they just like took a chunk out of the original Zen core. So it's not a Zen urethane. It's just a new core urethane. We're going to put that at the end of the list in terms of hook. Yeah, I think it needs to go there. The cover didn't hook as early as you'd think. Black Widow Pink. I'm actually going to do this quick. We're going to put the Black Widow Pink in the front of the category. This has the same cover as the Purple Hammer. However, with that Widow core, it does want to flare and wants to hook earlier. So I really like going Pink Widow into the Purple Hammer. I think that's a good 1-2 combo. But then we have the Black Hammer. This is the harder Purple Hammer. So that's going to fit right after the purple, right before the Zen U. But then we have a level. The level, we can't really put in urethane. I think we have to put that in the weak and smooth slot. We're going to fit it up here in the weak and smooth right after the Ion Pro. The level is pretty much like a Zen U, but reactive. So we're going to fit that in the weak and smooth category. Then we have a Storm Lock. The Crux Pearl and the Lock were nearly identical at the end of the day, which is kind of cool that you have both of them. I respect that. So we're going to put the lock right before the Crux Pearl, but those could kind of, oopsie, those could kind of be switched around a little bit. Then this is a fun one. This is my favorite one on the list. The Brunswick Quantum Bias. This was an all-white bowling ball. This is by far and away the earliest hooking bowling ball I have ever watched roll down a lane. This thing hooks so early and gets so dirty so fast. This thing was dumb with how smooth it was. You could play this thing up 3 for days because it would burn out at like 10 feet every time you threw it unless you wanted a puddle. So I'm going to put that as the strongest bowling ball on the list. That thing is nuts. That's probably a lefty's dream come true, though, in all honesty. Then finally, Rattler NU, we're going to put that after the Zen U. So let's look at this arsenal. You have a ton of asymmetrical bowling balls, 2, 4, 6, 8. 10, 12 total asymmetrical bowling balls. As a lefty, completely understandable, especially because you're bowling on harder patterns. That makes perfect sense to me. So I don't hate that much. You only have one medium smooth ball. You might need another slower medium bowling ball in there. I like that you have the Optimum Idol into the Ion Pro. I think that's a really good combo. You might need to fill something in between. Not exactly. It's just really how you feel about it, because as a college bowler, you're able to bowl in a lot of different conditions to see where your gaps truly lie. And then you don't have any weak and sharp bowling balls. I don't think you do. I don't think you really need anything in this slot. I don't know if I like a drive being your weakest shiny bowling ball. Maybe like a Road Warrior or something in that realm could be a little bit better. IQAI. Or even if you want, you could get a Typhoon. It's a little bit smoother of a weaker Pearl. That could be an okay option as a lefty, just to have something to ball down to just in case they are completely torched. But usually you shouldn't need to get into this slot as a lefty. Usually the slot you need to get into as a lefty is right here with all these urethanes. These are really good. I'm glad you have all these urethanes, especially in college. For anyone who doesn't know, college is a urethane fest, righties or lefties, but as a lefty, you could throw this the entire tournament. So you could just throw your Purple Slammer the entire tournament or your 78D hammer and be good to go. So looking at the list, like I said, maybe another medium smooth ball could work, but otherwise you have a pretty good arsenal. You probably have a couple strong sharp balls that are gonna be petering out pretty soon. The lock and the Crux Pearl specifically, the absolute maybe, the drive also. So I'd be ready to watch those bowling balls, put them on a watch list. So then I don't think you need to buy any more ASIM shiny options. I don't think that's really going to be necessary for you. But I really hope these tips help you out. And for our next arsenal, we have Thomas. Thomas is a one-handed, no-thumb, rev-dominant bowler who wants us to create an arsenal for League for him. So let's go through the list here and see where everything fits. We're going to put the balls in the categories that we already know that they fit in for a couple. Extreme Envy, we know is strong, smooth. I see a phase 2 down here. I see a pitch black as a urethane. The one reverb is going to go in the strong and sharp category. We've talked about the radioactive vibe, the bright highlighter ball being a weak and smooth ball. We have a troublemaker pearl. We know that is a medium sharp ball. Otherwise, I think that's it for the ones that we know. Actually, no, we have an anger here that goes in the weak and sharp. So let's categorize the rest and see where they fit. Next up, we have a Zen Master. The Zen Master was honestly a pretty okay ball. Had that massive Zen core, just a really strong, solid cover stock on it. It did hook a little bit earlier in the phase 2. I see the Zen Master very similar to the Sublime Focus. The Sublime Focus is just a little better when you try to play a little deeper with it. Next one up, we're going to go to the Heckler. The Heckler is a really weak, strong, and smooth ball, so there could easily be something in between this Extreme Envy and this Heckler, but otherwise that's a good 1-2 combo. I see a Black Venom coming up next. That's going to go after the phase 2. This is a pretty weak ball at the end of the day. It's definitely going to come after the phase 2 and after something strong like a Zen Master. Next, we have a Pink Widow Urethane. The Pink Widow Urethane is just the purple hammer cover with a Black Widow core in it. That's going to go a little bit after the pitch black because of that core, makes it a little bit weirder. Then we have a Jackal Ghost. Jackal Ghost is going to go in front of the Heckler in terms of how early it hooks. Not by a whole lot, though. These balls will be close-ish, but they're going to be radically different from the Extreme Envy. Hazmat Solid. Ooh. I would go Hazmat Solid right about here in between the Zen Master and the phase 2. I think that that Hazmat is very close to the phase 2 at the end of the day. I think these two are very similar. And I mean, honestly, all three are very similar. They're going to be very close shapes at the end of the day. The Zen Master will be smoother than the rest, but that's about it. So one of these three could probably go, and I'd recommend the Zen Master since it is the oldest. Next is a Black Widow 3.0. We're going to put the Black Widow right in between the Extreme Envy and the Jackal Ghost. These two are kind of close. The Black Widow hooks a little bit earlier from everything I've seen. So those two balls are a little close together, but otherwise not too bad. Phase AI definitely hooks after the Troublemaker Pearl, in my opinion. We have a new blue, which is going to come in. It could come in the urethane slot. Otherwise, it could come in the weak and smooth category. I like it in the weak and smooth category a little better because it is not even remotely close to urethane, even though it says NU on it for not urethane. The one Encore, oof. This is a tough one. I would put the one Encore. Oh, I missed the Jackal there. I would put the one Encore before the Black Widow, I think is best. So then it'll go Extreme Envy, one Encore, Black Widow 3.0, Jackal Ghost, Heckler. I think that's the combo they would go in terms of how early they hook. And then we're going to have a Black Widow Black Widow Hybrid, Toxin Hybrid, I believe was the name of it. It was an overseas ball. That's definitely coming after the one Reverb. The one Reverb hooks pretty early. So overall, you cover every single category. So you have a lot of strong smooth balls, and you did say you're rev dominant, so you might not, I don't think you need all four. Since you're building a league arsenal or a league bag, I would recommend like a new blue. I would go like a phase 2, a Troublemaker Pearl, and then I would go like the one Reverb or the Black Widow Toxin. I don't think your strong and smooth balls are really needed for league since you're so rev dominant. If you do want one of them, I would say the Jackal Ghost or the Heckler will probably be plenty of ball for you. You probably don't need the other three for that many situations unless you bowl tournaments. So with that, you might need one or two more weak bowling balls if you run into situations where everything is hooking too much. That Anger is pretty weak, luckily, so that should be the weakest ball you need. But in case you do, you might have to fill out this category. Otherwise, hope this helps. Next Arsenal up is Timothy Tan. And Timothy, I apologize. I messed up the Arsenal for a second. I put somebody else in your slot with your bowling balls, but now we have it. I already have all the bowling balls in the right category, so we're going to just discuss those a little bit. You said you're a two-handed rev dominant righty. So being rev dominant, the one thing I noticed is that you didn't have many balls in the weak category. So you have the Heckler into the Wicked Collision, pretty good combo. Attention Star S2 and a Katana Assault. I think the Assault hooks a little bit later, but it is getting a little older, so be wary of that. You have a phase 2 in here as your medium and smooth ball, makes sense. Medium sharp, optimum idle into a Troublemaker Pearl. Pearl into a phase AI. I think the Troublemaker and the phase AI are kind of close together. But then you have the Raw Hammer Solid as your only weak bowling ball in the two categories. So since you're two-handed and rev dominant, I would recommend some kind of weak and sharp ball in here. You have a lot of really good options. You could get another Raw Hammer. You could get a Hustle M&M. You could get the brand new Storm Typhoon. You could get a Max Thrill Pearl. Something like that could be really good for you. Otherwise, you do have your Urethanes, which is perfect. So really, the only categories I'm seeing that you'd be missing is that weak and sharp category. I think having just a phase 2 is really good for medium smooth. That should be A-okay. There is a big gap between that phase 2 and the Raw Hammer you could use like a Summit Ascent in there or an Ion Pro or an IQ Tour. Those would be really the only things you need to fill. The rest of the categories look great at the end of the day. So hopefully this helps. Next Arsenal is coming from the username WhySoSerious. Nice little Joker reference. Two-handed righty who is a balanced bowler. So let's put a few things into categories that we've already talked about. Black Widow 2.0 this time is going to go in the strong smooth. Black Widow Ghost in the strong sharp. I see a Troublemaker Hybrid in medium sharp. I see a Scorpion Low Flare, my personal GOAT, in the medium smooth. The rest we haven't really talked about, so let's get into them. Starting off, we have an overseas Wolverine, the Wolverine Strike. I don't know what this ball really does exactly. I know it's a solid version of the Wolverine, and the Wolverine has a pretty weak core, so I'm going to have that in front of the Scorpion Low Flare, but they're going to be kind of close, I think, in terms of how early they hook. Next up, we have the OG Scorpion. OG Scorpion, I believe, was an ASIM. We're going to put that in front of the Troublemaker Hybrid. Next up, we have the original Fireball. That's going to be a weak and sharp ball. Very weak. There was another Fireball that was in production. Very, very angular ball, though. Idle Cosmos is a medium and sharp option. I I think it fits in front of the Scorpion. It is a very early, slow rolling bowling ball because it has that OG Idle core in it. I see a Storm Absolute in here. That definitely is going to hook before the Black Widow Ghost. A Zen Soul is going to be a hybrid version of the OG Zens. This one was not as hated as the Zen Master, still not well liked, but it's definitely going to be the earliest in the medium smooth. We're going to an oldie with the Envision Pearl. The Envision Pearl is one I haven't seen in a hot minute. I would say that goes in front of both. That ball was very early rolling. That was like Ebonite right when they got bought out by Brunswick. That's about 5 years at this point. Next, we have a Clone, another strong and sharp bowling ball. We're going to put the Clone right here, right after the Absolute, but before the Black Widow. A Supernova coming up next. I'm going to have that in front of the Black Widow 2.0. That ball still hooked pretty early. And then we have a reality check. I'm going to put the reality check after the Black Widow 2.0, still in the strong and smooth category. So why so serious? As a two-handed balanced bowler, you really have top-sided your arsenal a little bit. So you have a lot of bowling balls in the top half, not as many on the bottom half. So if I had a recommendation, I would say some kind of another one or two weak and sharp or weak and smooth bowling balls will do well. You have IQ Tours, you have Ion Pros, you have things like Venom Shocks, Max Thrills will fit really, really well in here. What else would be decent right now? And Anger isn't too bad. Brunswick has no weak and smooth bowling balls, so nothing really there, but hopefully some of those would benefit just to be able to round this arsenal out even better. Otherwise, be wary of the balls that are a little bit older. You have an Envision. You have the OG Scorpion, and you have the Reality Check and the Supernova and the Black Widow 2.0, which are all getting a little bit old at this point. They might be a little bit oil soaked sooner rather than later. So be wary of that. Moving on, we have Tyler, who is a one-handed righty. Tyler has a good amount of bowling balls here, a lot of newer ones, and a lot of them we've actually talked about on the channel quite a bit. So what we're going to do to start off is put some bowling balls into the categories that we know they fit in off the rip to have one in each. So we know the Pitch Black is a urethane. We already talked about the Gem being a strong and smooth ball. The Arctic Vibe is the goated weak and smooth ball from Brunswick. Exotic Gem we've talked about is a strong and sharp ball. We know the Zen 25 is the GOAT medium sharp ball right now, and otherwise I think we have the rest covered. So let's kick it off. We actually are going to put the Show Off at the end because that's definitely the oldest and the most unique ball on the list. We're going to go to the Theorem Pearl. The Theorem Pearl is definitely a medium and sharp bowling ball. I see that as hooking after the Zen 25. The Zen 25 is earlier and earlier than I ever thought it was, where this Theorem Pearl is actually pretty clean at the end of the day. Also a bowling ball if you want something really cheap. Highly, highly recommend this one. But moving down the list, we now have a C4 Ordnance. For anyone who didn't know, the C4 series was a series from 900 Global a long time ago. Probably, well, not a long time, like 5 years ago or so. They were good. This one was super, super slow down lane, though. Insanely slow down lane. It's going to go after the Arctic Vibe, but it is a heck of a lot smoother than that Arctic Vibe. Moving on, we have a Sublime. I always say the Sublime hooks a little bit earlier than the Zen 25, so we're gonna put the Sublime right in front of it. However, now we have an Axiom Pearl. The Axiom Pearl, that's interesting. I think the Axiom Pearl is going to fit after the Zen 25 and before the Theorem. These three bowling balls are pretty close together, Sublime, Zen 25, and Axiom Pearl. So I don't think you need all three of those. I think just 1 to 2 will suffice. So I'd check what the differences are with yours based on layout and how many games they have on them, and try to only have 2 of them with you because that's a lot of balls in the same slot. Moving on, we have an Ion Max. Ion Max hooks a little bit later than the Gem, not by a crazy amount, but it's a lot more down lane, so it's a little less smooth. Finally, we have the Roto Grip Show Off. Let's do a quick little Roto Grip Show Off. Roto Gripo, whoopsie. The Roto Grip Show Off, I want to check the year of this guy. August 2017, so it's not that old, but it was 255 RG, 045 differential, and it was a solid. So this ball was really interesting, where it's pretty much a very weak, medium, and smooth bowling ball. I think it could also fit as a weakened smooth ball. It's kind of rides that gap between the two. I'm going to put it in medium smooth for now, but it easily could fit just right above the Arctic Vibe as a weakened smooth ball. So looking at what you have as a one-handed righty, in general, you have pretty much everything covered. You do have a lot of medium and sharp bowling balls. You could round out your arsenal a little bit by getting some kind of medium and smooth ball to fit well in here instead. Otherwise, maybe another strong and sharp ball. The exotic is really, really early, so something like an Attention Star or an Equinox could fit a little better because it looks like you are primarily a Storm fan. If you want Brunswick, a Vaporize would fit here, or the OG Theorem could also fit in that slot. So pretty well rounded. A few too many medium sharp balls, which is a-okay. That's one of the most used types of bowling balls. So if you just round it out a little bit more, get rid of one or two of these, put them in different slots, you're going to be good to go. And the next arsenal we have is a smaller one. So we're going to be able to be pretty quick on this one. We have Steve, who's one-handed speed dominant bowler, has 4 bowling balls in total. So let's put these into categories and see what can be the next ball that Steve gets. Kicking us off, we have the Theorem Pearl. That is a medium sharp ball. Really good ball. Highly recommend that. Like I said in previous videos, this one's going to be on sale soon. Hammer Effect, we know, is a strong and sharp ball. I really like that 1-2 combo. Effect into a Theorem Pearl is really good. We have an OG Rattler. The Rattler was a medium smooth ball that was trying to be a benchmark ball from Radical Bowling. It got discontinued kind of quick, along with all the other Rattlers. They were good. They were pretty good at the end of the day. This one's really cool. This is one I've always wanted. The Redemption Solid. The Hammer Redemption Solid was actually a really, really good ASIM solid. This was Bill O'Neill's best friend for a while, but it's a little bit older now. It's probably about 7-ish years old, so be ready for that. But otherwise, this is a really good 1, 2, 3, 4 arsenal for a speed dominant bowler. Like, nice job. I would recommend staying in this realm. I don't think you need anything weaker than the Theorem Pearl or a Rattler, unless you notice that this Theorem sometimes hooks too much for you. So I would recommend probably a new strong and smooth ball in the near future, something a little bit weaker than the Redemption. Some options out there right now. You could go with like a special effect and put some surface on it. You could go with like an Origin EX, but it looks like you have all Brunswick stuff, so we'll stay in the Brunswick realm. You could go like an Effect Tour could be good. That's going to be a medium smooth ball above the Rattler. I would recommend just a more mild asymmetrical solid ball to fit well with this Redemption, and then you should be good to go. We have an arsenal from Russ. Russ is a balanced one-handed righty with a good amount of bowling balls, 3, 6, 8 bowling balls in total. So let's put everything into categories where we already know they fit, like the NV Tour. We know that's a strong smooth ball. Arctic Vibe, we know is the weak and smooth ball for Brunswick for a while. We have an OG Zen, we know that's in the medium sharp category. And then everything else we're going to leave for just a minute. So let's start off with a Top Thrill. Now, I'm not sure what Top Thrill Russ exactly had. It could have just been the regular. We're going to put that in the weak and sharp category, though. The original thrills were very, very weak, including the top thrills. The max thrills are really where they amped up the power a little bit, the strength a little bit. But then we have a new blue, the new blue weak and smooth ball. I'm going to actually put that after the Arctic Vibe. Well, yeah, I'm going to put it after the Arctic Vibe because if you put these at the same surface, the Arctic does hook earlier. The new blue, I think, fits better as a very weak and smooth bowling ball. I think that's really where it excels. Next up, we have the Gem. The Gem is definitely going to go in front of the NV Tour as one of the strongest balls on the market. And then we have 2 balls left, 2 Radical bowling balls. We have a Crypto Boom. That is going to be a medium sharp bowling ball, and it's actually going to go after the Zen. So this core isn't crazy big. This is one of those medium symmetrical cores from Radical. This ball wasn't the best at the end of the day, better than the original Crypto, and this one was kind of slept on because the original Crypto sucked. But that would definitely be a medium sharp ball. And then we have the Zigzag Hybrid. We have the solid out right now, but this is the hybrid one. That is definitely a strong and sharp bowling ball. Smoother end of strong and sharp, but still strong sharp. So, Russ, looking at your arsenal, the main gap I'm seeing is a medium and smooth bowling ball. There's a pretty big gap in solids between your NV Tour and your Arctic Vibe. So I would recommend something in that category. It looks like you have a lot of Brunswick stuff, so a Hammerhead could fit really well here. Otherwise, a Troublemaker Solid. And if you want to branch out, you have things like a Venom Shock, a Phase 2. You have the new Ion Pro Solid that might be able to get close to fitting there. It might be a little too close to the Arctic, though. But I think filling that slot would be really good. Otherwise, the OG Zen is getting a little old. That's probably about 4 to 5 years old at this point. And same with the Crypto Boom. That's about 3-ish years old. You might need a new medium sharp ball sometime in the near future. So be ready for that. Make sure to watch out for when those balls start to get a little too smooth for you. But otherwise, this is a great start to an arsenal. Nice job, and hopefully these wrecks help. All right, I hope you guys are sitting down for this one. We have a lot of bowling balls to go through. This is Michael, who is coming up next, speed dominant bowler, and we have like 28 bowling balls or something. So we're going to get going immediately. We're going to put some bowling balls into slots where we know they fit. We know the exotic is a strong sharp. We know the magic gem is strong smooth. We know the Zen is medium sharp. We know, what other ones do we know in this list? We do have a medium smooth in the optimum idol. Otherwise, I think the rest we can't really put into anything right now. So let's start off the rip with the reality check, 900 global reality check. This was a hybrid reality. I'm going to put it in the strong smooth. It could also fit in the strong sharp right above the exotic. So it's kind of rides that gap between the two. The next one is interesting. Overseas bowling ball, the pure physics. This thing is pretty much just an infinite physics. So it has REX Pearl and then that physics core. I have that right after the exotic gem in the strong and sharp category. Not by much though. These are going to be just very different ball shapes, but similar spot that they start hooking. The pure physics is going to be a little bit rounder. The exotic gem is going to be a little more angular. Moving on, we have the Zen Gold Label. The Zen Gold Label fits behind all of the other gems. It is the weakest and the sharpest Zen ever made. Next up, we have the Revenant. Now, the Revenant is interesting, especially right now, because this ball's on super sale. They're trying to get rid of all of them, so you might be able to find some really good prices for it online. This ball was interesting. It was a remake of the Spectre, which got banned because it was too soft in the banning in like 2021 or so. Was weird. It was really weak, but also really smooth. So if you want something better than it, just grab a Typhoon. The Typhoon's going to be just overall better than what this Revenant was. But the Revenant is definitely a weak and sharp bowling ball. Moving on, we have the Obsession Tour Pearl. This ball is actually going to fit after both Zens, kind of surprisingly. It has a stronger core in it. It is an asymmetrical core, but the cover is so weak that this ball is actually going to be middle of the road for the medium and sharp category. Moving on, we have the Black Widow Ghost. This is a Pearl Black Widow. When the 2.0 was first came out, this one was really, really good. This was probably the best Pearl Widow in a long time. It was in the lineup for a couple of years, actually. And it's actually going to go in the strong and sharp slot, but near the bottom half of it. Speaking of the bottom half of it, we have the Storm Absolute. The Storm Absolute is actually going to fit above the Black Widow Ghost. This ball was, I believe, a hybrid. It was either loved or hated. If you're Stu Williams, you loved it. Most other people hated it. But it's going to fit also in that strong and sharp slot. Next up is a Summit Peak. I'm going to have the Summit Peak probably, man, this one's always tough for me. Like, where does the Zen fit between the Summit and the Axiom series? I'm going to put the Summit Peak right after the Zen because the Zen is a lot older, so it's going to want to hook a little earlier and be a little smoother. So I'm going to put the Summit Peak there. Next up, we have the Brunswick Infinity. The Brunswick Infinity was like, it kind of rode a gap. It's kind of like this reality check, honestly. These two are very similar pieces. I'm going to put in the strong and smooth, but right on the edge. It's a hybrid ASIM, weaker ASIM core. Really good bowling ball at the end of the day. I thought this one was very much slept on, but it's going to go in strong smooth. Next of all, TNT Infused. That's definitely going to go at the bottom half of the medium and sharp slot. It is that TNT core, which was not well liked at the end of the day, but the cover was pretty good on this one. I believe it was an E-Trax cover, so it fits right after the Obsession Tour. We have an Attention Star. Attention Star is going to be the weaker, strong, and sharp ball. It comes after the Black Widow Pearls in every way, shape, and form. Now, the next two, we are going to actually put these pretty close together. We have both the Phase 4 and the Phase 5. I'm going to put them both after the TNT Infused. They're both going to go right after the TNT Infused. So these two are going to be kind of close. The Phase 5 does hook later than the Phase 4, but they are all fairly close together. Moving on, we have an Ion Max. Ion Max is going to fit right next to the Magic Gem. I believe these two are very close together, but I think the Magic still hooks a little bit earlier. Then we have a Phase 2. Phase 2 hooks after the medium, after the Optimum Idol. It always goes Idol into Phase 2. Next, we have a Phase AI. We're going to put the AI, I think we're going to put it after the Obsession Tour. Oh, man, that one's kind of tough, though, because we have the gold label. The AI and the gold label are close-ish together. I think the AI is a little weaker. Yeah, we're going to go in this order right now. I think that's going to be the best. And then we have 6 bowling balls at the end that I wanted to take a second for. Some of these bowling balls are almost older than me. So we have let's see if I can get the names right. We have a Columbia 300 full swing. I forget what this one was. Can we read it? Oh, the Enigma. Is that maybe a hammer ball or an ebonite ball? We have the Brunswick Siege. We have the Hammer Wrench. We have the Violent Eruption. And then we have the Ransom. Now, these bowling balls all were made before the year 2010. So being over 15 years old, one, they're probably going to have a lot of games on them. Two, they're not really going to stand up in today's standards, especially if they were not locked away in an airtight container for the last 10 years. So these bowling balls are all going to go in the weak and smooth category just because of their age. Not even the specs don't really matter on these. They just aren't going to be able to compete with the stuff on the first half of the list. So those are all going to go in the weak smooth. But looking at the list, then there's a lot of bowling balls. There are not many medium smooth balls. Having the idle into the phase 2, phenomenal 1-2 combo. That's really what most people need. That's all I really use in this category is idle into phase 2. However, you have a lot of medium and sharp bowling balls. Some of these are going to start getting a little bit older, like that Zen or the Obsession Tour Gold, or even the Phase 4 are really getting up there in age a little bit more. So they're probably going to be weaker and weaker and weaker. So when you do need to get a replacement, I'd recommend getting a medium smooth ball and not another medium sharp ball. I think that's going to be really good. Your ASIMs are perfect. ASIMs are in the perfect spot. You have a little bit of everything in the asymmetrical categories, but I think in the medium slots, you could go with 1 or 2 more medium smooths to really round out this arsenal. Otherwise, there were a lot of really cool bowling balls in this. Thank you so much for submitting your arsenal. Our next arsenal is from Lennox. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name, but we have a rev dominant bowler with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 bowling balls in total. So let's get it going off the rip. We're putting the Ion Max in the strong and smooth category. I see a gold label. We're going to put that in medium sharp. I see a purple slammer that we're going to put in the urethane category, as all good purple hammers do. We've talked about the Eternity being a strong and sharp ball. This was supposed to be a remake of the Altered Reality. Didn't really do that. It's a little weaker and a little sharper, which is honestly okay. That Altered was early at the end of the day. We have a Zen Master, the solid version of the original Zen. That's a medium smooth bowling ball. And then the rest we're going to just talk about one by one. So kicking us off, we have my least favorite bowling ball of all time, the Storm DNA. This is definitely weaker than an Ion Max by a good margin at the end of the day, by a decent bit. Interesting bowling ball. This one's interesting. Gravity Evolve from Storm. This was a remake of the Gravity series, if anybody remembers any of the virtual gravities or things like that. This was a remake of them with a super strong cover stock. I am actually going to put that bowling ball in front of the Ion Max in terms of hook. This thing was early. This thing hooked super early. I think it's one of the earliest hooking bowling balls Storm has ever made. And then it didn't really last very long, unfortunately. It was a good ball. I just don't think it was sharp enough down lane for people to really like. Then we have the Supersonic. Supersonic was a solid, buffed up version of the IQ. That's going to go after the Zen Master. Next, we have the Mindset. The Brunswick Mindset was a solid, weaker cover bowling ball, weaker core bowling ball. I think it's going to fit after the DNA. Not by much, but by a little bit. And then we have the Deviate Verge. Ooh, this is a good one. I think the Verge fits after the Zen Master. These two are kind of close in different ways. Like, this is strong and smooth for Deviate senses, and this was really smooth for Storm senses. I think they're going to be close. This Supersonic is going to be way below them in terms of hook. It's going to hook later and be sharper. These two are kind of interesting together. That's very interesting. But looking at your arsenal, overall, you have a lot of smoother bowling balls. You said you're rev dominant. Makes sense to try to keep the ball being a little smoother down lane. But the big thing that you're missing right now are these weaker bowling balls. I would highly recommend focusing on some weaker bowling balls next because you're rev dominant. That's going to help you be able to contain the pocket when the lanes are a little more torched. So it looks like you don't really have a preference on brand. So for weak and sharp, I think the Typhoon is one of the best on the market right now. Highly recommend that guy. In the weak and smooth category, you could go with things like that new Ebonite Turbo X. You could go with an IQ Tour. You could go with a Hustle Earth. If you want other bowling balls in these slots, the Huzzles, like I said, are great bowling balls. You could go like a Road Warrior because the Zen Gold label overall is not really it's clean, but it's not, you can find stuff that hooks later. So if this ball is ever hooking too early, you might need something like a Road Warrior or an IQ AI to fit. But I think the top half of your arsenal looks pretty good. I just recommend a couple weaker bowling balls when you get your next equipment.